Ecomi is my homie. I do feel strongly that the VeVe Ecomi universe is going to dominate the coming multiverse. But before we get into that, let me ask you, were you a young kid in the United States collecting baseball cards back in 1952, where you could have collected a Topps Mickey Mantle card like the one that just sold for $5.2 million? Yeah, me neither. Well, that wasn't even the last generation of collectibles, but probably the generation before that. In the last generation, we saw Pokemon come to mind. Did you happen to snag yourself a holographic Charizard like the one that sold for $369,000 just in December of 2020? Me neither. But I do love the saying, don't chase boats that you have already missed. There are usually fresh ones arriving that have amazing opportunities. So the past can be a useful tool to help us look at what patterns there were so that we can understand what patterns might do well in the future and what collectibles that might dominate the minds of avid collectors. This is where Ecomi comes into the picture. Ecomi is building something special, something that can own the collectible space. Now, Ecomi is just hitting their stride. I've been investing now in crypto since 2017, and I first became aware of Ecomi in 2018, where I actually saw some value in what the two co-founders were proposing. They had this idea that digital collectible NFTs would do really well. Yeah, it made perfect sense to me, and I invested through a group into their pre-sale. But like everything else crypto, their token, OMI, got crushed during the down market. But during that time, the founders worked endlessly to secure some of the best, amazing licenses imaginable so that in 2020, they would actually be ready to release their app in some incredibly stunning 3D collectible models via their subsidiary, VeVe. Over the past several months, they have become the dominant player for non-sports NFT collectibles. Now, if you haven't seen what I'm talking about, you can get the VeVe app, that's VeVe, right from your app store on your phone, and you can take a look because what they have is impressive. Since the big crypto correction in March of 2021, the OMI token that tanked so much during the bear market has been gaining tremendous momentum. You probably saw that it went like 200x since that low price in the bear market. But like anything that has a major upswing like that, it had a pullback during this recent pullback where everything in crypto came down. Now, since that time, we've had some amazing announcements, like OMI is planning to move to the Ethereum blockchain via Immutable X. This is a big deal. They also announced partnerships with major brands like Marvel and Givenchy, as well as partnering with some of the major artists like Ron English and Frank Kozik. So needless to say, Ecomi's business model is now in full force, and they're driving huge amounts of revenues to their coffers. Now, when companies get to this point, they sometimes begin to try to coast their way to the top. But it doesn't seem like Dan Crothers and David Yu have anything but the pedal to the metal as they're working to create a VeVeVerse. Now, that will be a game environment that will provide more utility for the collectibles. Like, I don't know, I can imagine having my character be able to drive around the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Just an example. But let's not get ahead of ourselves too much because there's still a lot of speculation as to what the VeVeVerse will be like and whether or not they will have some play to earn mechanisms they've been talking about, which could be huge, especially if you've been watching what has happened to Axie Infinity, a game that I invested in, did incredibly well financially, but I cannot play it because it's not my type of play style, and it bores me to tears, though I love what they have created, and people that like that type of game style have absolutely grabbed onto it. Now, I hope the VeVeVerse comes out with a play style that's more in line with what I like, but we'll see how it goes. We do know that Ecomi has been crushing it on the promises that they made since 2018, so it's kind of easy to expect that a company that is revenue rich with a focused game plan and a track record of under-promising and over-delivering, they have one of the best chances to create something that can dominate this wide-open field. So back to OMI being my homie, let's talk about the use case of the token. Now, some projects out there, and we won't mention any names, Ripple, have used their token to raise funds to get started, but later diminished their use case of the token. And as investors, this is always our fear, and we're right up to have this fear because it happens. So far, it seems that Ecomi has been committed to their OMI token, and their tokenomics have continued to get better. So let's talk about the supply. The initial supply of OMI totaled 750 billion. Yep, that is a lot of tokens. But since the launch of the VeVe platform, 103 billion have been permanently removed from the total token supply, which brings the new amount to 647 billion. But wait, there's more. Less than half of those 647 billion OMI tokens can ever enter active circulation. They are held in wallets that are imperative for the function of the app. As such, those will never enter circulation. In summary, although the initial release had 750 billion OMI tokens, which is a massive number, less than half of that will ever be in circulation. That number will continue to decline due to token burns. So let's talk about the token burns. The setup for the VeVe app and the use of OMI tokens was done in such a way to onboard mass market, i.e. non-crypto users, and to make the process as easy and familiar as possible, and that has been hugely successful. So users purchase gems. 1 gem equals $1, using a credit or debit card in an in-app purchase. On the back end, not seen by us as the user, the purchase of gems is actually facilitating the purchase and movement of OMI tokens. When the user spends gems in the VeVe store or marketplace, OMI tokens are exchanged for the NFT collectible, and some of those are then permanently removed or burnt from the circulating token supply. In other words, the more users that join the app and purchase gems to buy collectibles, the more OMI tokens get burned. As of July 12, 2021, 7.2 billion OMI have been burned, and that number is expected to grow as more and more users join the app. Although the decline in OMI tokens is expected to put an upward price pressure on the price of OMI, the founders didn't stop there. They also created token buyback mechanisms. So due to the burn mechanism mentioned, fewer tokens end up being available for the company's reserve wallet. To address this, 10% of the revenue generated from the sale of NFT collectibles in the VeVe store are used to buy back OMI tokens from exchanges to keep the reserve wallet token supply at an adequate level. The buyback and burn mechanism together are designed to benefit OMI token holders by creating upward buy pressure on the token, while also slowly diminishing the available supply. They've also talked about staking OMI. While we don't have a lot of information regarding staking at this time, Ecomi's given us a few tidbits. As of now, the team really only mentioned that there will be unique rewards for staking OMI tokens. There will also be incentives for using the token to make purchases on the app, and also talking about integrating OMI into the transactions within the VeVeVerse. Well, with anything, can't we say as we're evaluating a project that one of the most important things we can evaluate is the team? So is the team behind Ecomi the right ones to get this done? In fairness and full disclosure, in 2018, I didn't know the answer to that. It seemed like their idea was great, but I didn't really know anything about the founders or co-founders at the time. And literally back then, it was mostly just them and a few other people. So let's talk about them. CEO David Yu, he's been in the collectible space for decades. He's also been a collector, and that's given him some insight into how to set up VeVe in a way to draw in collectors. There are first appearance NFTs, first edition art NFTs, mint numbers so that we can see how many collectibles were minted and which ones were first on the blockchain, as well as different rarities. Good setup. And a lot of that came from David Yu. Dan Crothers, he's got 20 years of experience in web development, software design, and business experience, and these skill sets help them create a solid VeVe app. Now, they've done a good job on this, and it's not that it hasn't been without its problems, but everything that goes through this kind of massive growth runs into these kinds of problems. I can't go without mentioning, though, their head of licensing that they picked up, Alfred Kahn. Now, he is a world-renowned licensing guru. I could literally give you many examples of what this guy has done, but I'll do just this one. Have you ever heard of Pocket Monster? Yeah, I hadn't either. It turns out Alfred Kahn helped rebrand Pocket Monster to Pokemon. Yep, Pokemon. The Ecomi team was literally able to land the guy who helped bring Pokemon to the world outside of Japan. So needless to say, with Kahn at the helm of licensing, the Ecomi team has a heavyweight in their corner that is helping them secure these massive brands to the VeVe platform. They've already announced DC Comics, Tokidoki, Marvel. They've also stated publicly many times that they have over 100 plus additional licensing agreements that they haven't even yet announced. Yeah, this is big. Although nothing is for sure as to who would get the Pokemon license, my money's on VeVe as having the best chance if Pokemon doesn't do it themselves. They also have a fantastic communications manager, Rice Skellern, and he's good. But let's not forget to mention the major player in their leadership team, and I would say that has become the community. The community is already large and growing more every day. There are already several YouTubers with channels with thousands of subscribers that are dedicated solely to Ecomi and VeVe. This is pretty impressive. Like, I love Ecomi. It's one of my bigger holdings, but they talk about it every single day. You won't get that from me. I'm an investor. I hold lots of different tokens. I like lots of different tokens. Ecomi is my favorite NFT play out there. Now, there are accounts also talking about the community on Twitter that you've probably seen. Like, they literally create hilarious memes for free. They make advanced videos using VeVe collectibles in augmented reality and all of this because they love the community so much. So to put this in perspective, every company has projections as to how big they think their group or community will be by such and such days. And they hope by the end of 2021 they would have 60,000 active users. But by July 2021, there were more than 500,000 downloads to the app. Now, downloads doesn't necessarily mean users, because one user might have 3 phones and he might have downloaded it across the 3 phones or whatever, so we don't know exactly the actual number of users, but I think it's safe to assume that the user base is significantly higher than the 60,000 they had projected. And what's funny about this is it's gone viral itself, because so many people have really grabbed onto this and they share it all the time. They've had a lot of free marketing growing this tremendously for them, as well as they are gearing up for the online San Diego Comic-Con, and they've been teasing some announcements about that. Even though so much has been growing virally without advertising dollars, they did retain the PR firm Rogers & Cohen, one of Hollywood's most famous agencies. And they were hired by Ecomi as its lead communications partner. Now, this firm's been in the business for a long time, and they're definitely going to help Ecomi navigate these rough and choppy waters in advertising to get to the optimal target audience. And so even though so much has grown virally, imagine what it will do when fueled by a top PR agency. So as you can see, the Ecomi team has been developing their vision and product for some time, and everything is coming together. Couple that with the Omi token designed with the holder and investor in mind, there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline, such as the VeVeVerse and over 100 plus additional partnerships yet to be announced. This is why Omi is my homie. I love this token. I love what the team is doing and where they're going. Now, I'm an investor myself. This is the kind of stuff I talk about on my YouTube channel. If you are looking for that dedicated Ecomi video every single day, that is not what I give to you. If you're here for solid gains on ways to think about crypto as an investment and what to look at and how to analyze it, that's what I do. I'll also share with you, whether you're interested in this channel or not, that if you're here for investing and you want to see some massive gains in your portfolio, why not commit yourself to be here for the next 5 years? I've seen that those that commit through at least 2 cycles in the crypto universe tend to do way better. There's many that come in their first cycle. We almost always all buy high when we come in, because we come in after everyone told us all the gains they got. We chase the green candles and we buy high, and then sometimes we sell low, and that's just what happens when you're new. But is it fair to say in life you're always bad before you're good? And I've seen people's chances to attain their financial dreams go way, way up when they commit to this space for 5 years, which means this bull run, and I still think we have plenty of bull run ahead of us, and that'll be followed by a bear market. It always is. And then the bull run that follows after that. And if that's what you're looking for, join us. I'll also give you a link to my Telegram group below where I frequently jump in. There's also some very sharp people in there and a really good group overall. So join us. Stick around for the next 5 years. And even if you don't join us, do stick around for the next 5 years, because it's going to be a wild ride and probably well worth your time. We will see you next time.